Hiyo, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Summer Reading! Yeah, well, Stick, this camping trip's getting off to a great start, wouldn't you say? What? Are you ready for some cool camp facts? I know you are. You're such a history buff. Get ready. Okay, there are 30 campgrounds in the Kentucky State Park system. I know, isn't that amazing? Whoa, and check this out. One of the very first ones in Kentucky was called Pine Mountain. Did you hear that? Pine Mountain. It's a mountain made of pine cones. It's definitely on our bucket list. We gotta go check it out, Stick, okay? All right, well, put on your fanny packs, lace up your hiking boots, and grab some trail mix and marshmallows, or pine cones, and let's go learn some more cool Kentucky history. Okay, friends, we're off to the Frazier History Museum. Will you join me? Come on, let's go. Hiyo, friends, it's me, Gorp, and I'm on another adventure with my new friend, Mick.
Hey Gorp, I'm so excited you're joining us here at the Frazier History Museum.
Well, thanks for having me. Can you tell me about the Frazier?
Yes, the Frazier History Museum is a 4-story building at 9th and Main in downtown Louisville. And we've got galleries on all sorts of things, from ancient history to modern history.
Okay.
And the state of Kentucky.
Oh, it sounds fun. Well, you know what? I did notice something really cool when I was looking around. There's this amazing boat behind us. What's going on with that thing?
This one right here?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is one of my favorite things that we have. This boat belongs to Tori Murden, who lives here in Louisville. She's actually the president of Spalding University.
Okay.
But when she was younger, she used this boat, you ready for this?
No.
To row alone across the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow, amazing. What a hero.
Oh, absolutely amazing. 15 hours a day, she was sitting right there just a-rowing.
Oh man, that's so interesting. I bet there's so many more interesting things here in the Frazier.
Yeah, and I'm so excited. I'm going to show you the Lewis and Clark exhibit in a little while.
Okay.
And in a minute, my friend Brian is going to show you some more in cool Kentucky. You want to get started?
This sounds like a great day. Thanks, Mick. Oh, and kids, don't forget, complete your summer reading, and you can come here too.
Hey, Gorp.
Oh, hey, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming here to the Frazier today.
Oh, I love being here. Brian, you're really tall.
I am very tall.
Yeah.
Well-
How'd you get so tall?
Well, I think it was just proper nutrition.
Oh, okay.
A lot of water.
Nice.
And a lot of love from my family.
Oh, that's so sweet. I wish I could be that tall. Well, anyway, Brent, where are we today in this exhibit?
We are in the competitive Kentucky section of our cool Kentucky exhibit.
Cool Kentucky. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Brent, what you got there?
This is a ball.
Oh, you got one of those sports balls. Can I see it?
Gorp, sports ball is not really a nice term for.
No?
Yeah, it's made to make fun of sports, not to celebrate it.
Oh, sorry. So no sports ball if I want to sound cool, right?
Yeah. This is what's called a basketball.
It's so. Can it? What? Well.
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't
not
taste
edible,
very
though.
good. Okay, I won't eat it, but thanks for letting me try.
You're welcome.
I'm not very good at sports, sorry.
It's okay. I'm not either.
But I do like learning. Do you
Yeah.
think you could tell me a little bit more about these basketball players over here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
so
thanks.
We are in a section of our competitive Kentucky section of Cool Kentucky that talks about the Kentucky Colonels.
All right, I can't wait to learn. Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Kentucky Colonels were a world champion in professional basketball. They were part of the American Basketball Association, a league which existed from 1967 through 1976. But before the league ended in 1976, the Kentucky Colonels won the World Championship in 1975. On May 22nd, 1975, the Kentucky Colonels beat the Indiana Pacers to win the ABA World title. And what you see here is a uniform that was worn by their star center, Artis Gilmore. Now, Artis Gilmore was a tall man. He was 7 foot 2 inches and weighed 240 pounds. And he was a dominant force down low for the Kentucky Colonels. Now, the Colonels, like the ABA, were trendsetters. But even though the Kentucky Colonels were a part of Kentucky's history, being world champions in 1975, the Kentucky Colonels had an even more important place in the history of sport, particularly pro basketball. In particular, they were very important because of the little man. The ABA and its three-point shot made it possible for smaller players to play in pro basketball. And that was because of the presence of the three-point play. Now, at the time, in the late 60s and early 70s, the NBA didn't have a three-point play. But the ABA did use the three-point shot. And one of those players who benefited from the three-point shot was Louis Dampier. Dampier was the point guard for the Kentucky Colonels. Now, when he came out of college at the University of Kentucky in 1967, he was considered undersized for the NBA. And although he was drafted by an NBA team wanted him to try out for their team. But the Colonels offered to sign Dampier right away, seeing his talent. One of the reasons they saw Dampier's talent was because of the three-point shot. Smaller players like Dampier could thrive in the ABA because of the presence of the three-point shot. Players didn't have to go down inside the paint with the big guys like artists. They could stay outside and shoot the three-point shot. Because as we all know, 3 is greater than 2. So if a team shoots more points than the other team, they win. And if the team makes more three-pointers, normally they win as well. And so Dampier was the all-time three-point scorer in ABA history. And because of players like Dampier, it made it possible for small guys, little guys just like you, to play in pro basketball. Players like Steph Curry and Chris Paul. So because of the ABA and the three-point shot, it made it possible for little fellas to play in pro basketball today. Now you've learned more about our competitive Kentucky display. I want to pass the ball over to Mick, who will tell you more about Lewis and Clark.
Thanks, Brian. Come on, let's go inside. Hey, Gorp, welcome to the Lewis and Clark exhibit.
Hey, Mick, thanks for having me. This place is amazing.
Yeah, I hope you have a chance to look around. There's a cave you can climb through. There is a teepee that you can spend some time in. If you need to take a break, take a nap, feel free, okay?
That sounds great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, so I have a question for you. Have you ever been camping before?
Oh, I love camping. I'm so glad you asked. I love being outside and doing marshmallows, telling stories by the fire. It's so much fun.
I agree. Have you ever been on a camping trip that was like 800 days long, though?
800 days? That sounds like I'd have to do a lot of preparation.
Yeah, you'd have to pack a lot of stuff. You'd probably get tired of the people that you were hanging out with, too. 800 days is a long time.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with all the packing. That sounds nightmare.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But right now, I want to introduce you to some of the people who went on the expedition with Lewis and Clark.
Oh, thanks, Mick. I can't wait to hear more.
So way back in 1803, President Thomas Jefferson was wondering about what was further out in the American continent. And since he was president, he really couldn't go himself, so he sent one of his friends, Meriwether Lewis. Meriwether Lewis knew that he couldn't do it alone either. So he wrote a letter rather, because there were no phones, he wrote a letter to his friend, William Clark. Now, William Clark lived in Louisville, Kentucky. The two of them put together a plan. They invited a group of people, the 9 young men from Kentucky, and also joining them was a man named York, who was enslaved to William Clark. William Clark and York both grew up here in Louisville, actually at the park today that we know as George Rogers Clark Park, if you've ever been. A lot of preparation needed to happen. They learned about medicine, they studied navigation, and they packed a boat full of stuff. They had food, they had trade goods, they had everything that they could possibly think that they would need. And they had 3 goals that the president gave them. 1, they were looking for a way to sail a boat from the Mississippi River across the continent to the Pacific Ocean. Spoiler alert, it's impossible to do. So they failed at that job. The second thing that they needed to do was meet the Native Americans that were living throughout the continent. And the third thing that they were asked to do was to document the animals and plants that had not been documented by European descendants before. So they documented hundreds of species of plants and animals, and actually sent some alive all the way back to Thomas Jefferson. There was actually a prairie dog that made it all the way back to Thomas Jefferson and lived in the White House, and then later in a museum right above where the Declaration of Independence was signed, and his journey started with Lewis and Clark. Most of the journey was spent walking on foot. They actually had this big boat, but the boat was going in the opposite direction of the river. So they spent most of their time pulling the boat up the river. They were burning all sorts of calories. And in fact, during the first part of the journey, they ate 9 pounds of food every day. Every individual ate 9 pounds of food because they were burning that much energy. Now, their first winter, they spent with the Mandan Indians. And that was where they met Sacagawea, who would be a giant help along the journey. She wasn't a guide because she didn't necessarily know where they were going either, but she did know a lot of the languages and was incredibly helpful in getting them horses that they needed to cross the Rocky Mountains. By the time the second winter of their journey came, they had made it to the Pacific Ocean on foot. They made it all the way to the Pacific Ocean. And they had to decide, well, do we start back now or do we camp? And they took a vote. And they counted everyone's vote equally, including Sacagawea and York, which might make them the first Native American woman and the first African American to vote on a military matter. Lucky for them, the journey back home was much faster than the journey to the Pacific Ocean had been. They had the current of the river to carry them back. Now, the people back east hadn't heard from them in years and had taken them for dead. So there was much celebration and much rejoicement when they showed up. And they also had a boatload of stuff to give to Thomas Jefferson and the museums and the American Philosophical Society in Philadelphia. Along the way, they did learn a lot of new skills and tried a lot of new foods. I'm going to show you some of those right now.
Mick, what you got over there?
This, Gorp, is a buffalo chip.
Oh, buffalo chips. Those sound delicious.
Hey, no, you definitely do not want to eat this.
Whoa.
This is, you want to touch it though?
Okay.
Okay, this is buffalo poop.
Oh, no. Did you trick me, Mick? Come on.
I did. This was actually used in the Great Plains when Lewis and Clark and the rest of the men were out there and they didn't have wood to make a fire. So they would start a fire with this. It's flammable. So you mentioned marshmallows and s'mores. We could light this up and have some s'mores right now if you want.
Oh, this sounds like a really smelly s'more option. I don't know.
Okay, well, here's another thing. If you would like to eat this is a biscuit.
Oh.
It's a hard biscuit.
Okay.
Hey, have you ever... Pretty good, right?
That was delicious. Thanks, Mick.
Have you ever tried to pick something up with your toes?
No.
No? Like little monkey feet? You know, like try to pick a pencil up off the floor or something?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I've done that with my toes.
Okay, well, that's where that biscuit came from. It was actually, it's made from a root that people would get from a river, and it grows in the mud, and they would dig around in the mud with their toes and bring it up. So
you gave me a toe biscuit?
Yeah, how was it?
Come on, Mick. What's going on here?
What'd you think? How was it?
I mean, it was delicious, but I didn't want to admit that. Thanks, Mick.
Hey.
I feel so much better now. I was getting the hangries.
Good.
Oh, Mick, you're hilarious. That was so great. Now I'm full. I guess it's time to pack for my road trip. Thanks, Mick.
Hey, have a good time. Thanks for joining me.
All right, see ya.
So Lewis and Clark and the whole party, the Corps of Expedition, were exploring the American West. And in the century that followed, the American West became a new world. It captured the imagination. And it captured the imagination for so long that even in the 1920s, people were making up songs about the West. And one of those songs was written by Cole Porter, one of the most famous songwriters in the history of music. And he wrote this song called Don't Fence Me In, which is about being in the wide open. Oh, give me land, lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. I wanna be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please. Don't fence me in. Just turn me loose, let me straddle my old saddle underneath the western skies. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise. I wanna ride to the ridge where the west commences and gaze at the moon until I lose my senses. I can't stand hobbles and I don't like fences. Don't fence me in. Well, don't fence me in. One more time, Buffy. Don't fence me in.
Welcome to Camp LFPL, where you earn prizes by reading. Attention campers! Get ready to read! All you have to do to complete the summer reading program is read books! That's 10 books if you're in elementary school, 20 books if you're in preschool, or 6 books if you're in middle or high school. Read books and earn this Camp LFPL fanny pack! Campers can read physical books, ebooks, and listen to audiobooks. Don't forget to tell your friends about the books you read because they can be summer reading campers just like you. The library has thousands of books for you to choose from. Get outside this summer and bring along a book on your adventures. But you may want to watch your fishing pole a little closer than Bear did.
All kids who complete the summer reading program will receive passes and treats from these area businesses.
Learn more about the Louisville Free Public Library's summer reading program at lfpl.org/summerreading. Have a great summer and happy reading!
Choo-choo! All aboard to Camp Shanatuck! Oh, I'm on a train! Look at me! This is amazing!
And I'm Casey.
And we're here at the beautiful Camp Shanatuck in Bullitt County.
If you love archery
or creek walking
or everything in between,
come on down and join us. You can go online at www.gskentuckiana.org
or call 888-771-5170. Come have some more fun.
Hi, old friends. Welcome back. I'm back with my Girl Scout friends, and they taught me another skill.
Today we will be making pie-earned pizzas. Would you like to tell us the ingredients we have?
Yes. First we need a pie iron, and we'll need bread and butter,
cheese, and sausage. Step 1 is to put butter on your foil. We'll spread it and then put the bread on top, and then you'll get sauce.
When you finish spreading the sauce out, you have to add the cheese. You don't want a lot of it because of how small it is. Depends on how much you like cheese. Now we need to close it. There we go. Then we bring it over to the campfire to cook it. Okay, I'm going to find the perfect spot to cook it. I found the perfect spot and it's leveled, so I'm going to step away and then come back in a few minutes and flip it. It's been a few minutes, so we're going to flip it over on the other side and then let it cook for the same amount of time. Come back and check on it.
I'm getting hungry. Were they good?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, does anybody know a ghost story?
No. Do you?
Oh, good thing. I got one. You ready?
Yeah.
It was a dark and scary night, and I was walking through the woods. And you know what?
What?
There were no pine cones!
Oh, no!
But don't worry.
Okay.
I woke up. It was just a nightmare.
Okay. Phew.
Good thing. You guys seen any pine cones though? I'm ready for a snack.
Hey, this is a book that I wrote about a very peculiar event that happened in Kentucky history. It might not seem true, but it is. It's called the meat shower. It's just a fact. Sometimes strange things happen. And you're most certainly going to think that this story is strange, but it's a tale as true as the leaves in the tree. Why, it's as real as this very jar on this very shelf. The same one that I call home. Maybe you've heard about that famous tsunami of Sticky, the Great Molasses Disaster, as it's known. That was unusual, but easy to explain. A giant storage tank exploded and sent a tidal wave of gooey brown sweetness slowly creeping through the streets of Boston. Or there was that time that giant flock of birds just plumb fell right out of the sky with nothing more than a thunder of thuds on the ground. Some folks call that one the Louisiana blackbird tragedy. Believe it or not, something similar has happened with frogs, or so I've heard. But if you're really looking for something strange, I'll tell you, there's nothing quite like what happened in the little town of Olympia Springs, Kentucky, one March day in 1876. You wouldn't believe me if I told you, but it's the reason I'm here, so I'm going to tell you anyway. Mrs. Crouch was gathering supplies to make a batch of soap. It was a hot, smelly job, so she typically worked in the yard, and the weather seemed to be perfect for her task. Before she opened the door, she heard a sound from the roof above her. At first, she thought it was a spring shower, but it didn't sound quite like the rain she knew. It fell at odd times, not the steady, gentle pity-pat of a shower's first raindrops. It was a heavy, flat sound, a soft thunk against her old tin roof. Out the window, she saw nothing unusual, but then she heard a few more thunks. Stepping outside, she looked around to see what could be making such a strange sound, and as she looked up, she felt it. It smacked her face with a sloppy slap and slid, slimy and slow, down the soft skin on the side of her face. She caught her breath and then broke the silence with a shriek. Ah! Her husband, kindly Mr. Crouch, came running from the barn as she screamed, "I got hit in the face with a piece of meat!" As matter of fact as someone can be in such a peculiar situation, her dear husband calmly replied with a smile, "I know, there's meat falling all over the place. It's a meat shower." "A meat shower," she screamed. "There's no such thing. Meat doesn't fall from the sky." Now that's most generally true. Meat does not normally fall from the sky. But that day, Mrs. Crouch was wrong. On the 3rd of March in 1876, in the little town of Olympia Springs, meat did fall from the sky. Before long, the neighbors gathered on the Crouch's porch, confused and excited. A few carried umbrellas, someone was toting a shovel, and another had a rake. Ben was last to arrive, excited, hungry, and ready to make the most of the shower. Pointing with pride to the pail in his hand, he exclaimed, "Look, it's almost full of meat rain. Guess what's for dinner tonight?" Now this horrified Miss Crouch. "Ben, I think that's a terrible idea. You shouldn't eat meat that fell out of the sky. You don't know what it is or where it came from. What if it makes you sick?" "Please," she begged, "empty that pail of meat." She was probably right, but Ben saved a little, just in case it was delicious. Now, like all normal showers, this strange meat shower eventually came to an end. And now, perplexed by the strange chunks scattered about, the people of Olympia Springs set about to solve the mystery, but they would not be alone. The next morning, newspapers from the Carolinas to California ran the story, and no one had ever heard of such a bizarre happening. It was the talk of the nation, and before long the place was crawling with scientists, meteorologists, and butchers. Everyone was hungry for an explanation to the mysterious meat from the sky. Specimens were packed up and sent to labs all over the country, while in Olympia Springs, people guessed and gossiped and waited for an answer. One scientist said it was horse meat. I guess he thought a horse just up and exploded, shooting meat all over the place. Not likely, if you ask me. Besides, no one reported missing any horses. Another scientist speculated that the meat shower was the product of a kettle of vultures, which is the name for a flock of vultures in flight. In this hypothesis, a big group of the birds had just feasted on a giant meal, and then, when they started to fly, one of them realized he had eaten too much. If he was going to stay in the air, he had to, well, get rid of some of that meat. And here's the thing about vultures. If one of them barfs, they all barf. In the end, Mrs. Crouch and the townspeople never heard an explanation that satisfied them. While the specimens disappeared, or were thrown away, or eaten by Ben, the town wondered, waited, and watched the skies, hoping another meat shower would leave better evidence. After a while, life went back to normal, and the meat shower remained a point of pride in Olympia Springs, Kentucky. But people everywhere else soon forgot about that strange, unexplainable day. But not me. I can't think of anything else. Of course, Mrs. Crouch, Mr. Crouch, Hungry Ben, and all the townfolk are distant memories. But I'm still here. I remember hitting the ground, surrounded by all the others, but I don't have the foggiest memory of what happened before that. All I can do is wonder as I stew in a dusty old jar on a museum shelf. Once I was in newspapers from Carolina to California, but to the few who notice me today, I'm little more than a curiosity. They squint their eyes, wrinkle their noses, and move on. Maybe meat will never fall from the sky again, but I still pray someone curious and clever is struck by that distant, fateful March day and is hungry to solve the mystery. Where there is mystery, there is hope, and as you've already clearly seen, anything can happen. So do me a favor and check the weather for tomorrow. I wonder if it's going to rain.
Don't fence me, yeah! Sorry, Stick. I got a little carried away with that jam. It was so good. Well, thank you so much to our friends at the Frazier Kentucky History Museum and the Girl Scouts. And remember, complete the summer reading program to get all your prizes. Until our next adventure! See you next time!
When I grew up, it was all about the books and stuff.
They have changed so much over the years.
And they have computers, like if you want to play and if you don't have a computer at home.
This is a great place for genealogy.
I think of the library as an investment in a community.
I definitely think libraries are still relevant.
It brings the community together.
It's a testament to our democracy.
What would we do without the library?
It's very cool.